Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Packernet Derailed. We got Ryan Schlip, the Pack Daddy. Got Mike Rathbone in the chat. I am JJ Leahy, and I know that we said that we were done, being without Jake, but we had to trade Ryan back for Jake again. So, look, we got the listener complaints about, that somebody said like, I can't take any more of this JJ business. So I'm assuming you meant Jake. So that's why we got rid of him.
Yep.
So Ryan,
we listened and we responded to your feedback. Jake is gone.
Hope you enjoyed your sabbatical. Did you tune in at all to last week's stream with me and Jake? Did you see that?
I thought I did. Did I not comment on anything?
I didn't see any comments.
All right. Yeah, I know I watched it. My wife was very confused. She's like, "Oh, are you doing a stream right now?" I was like, "No, I'm just watching." Oh, that's right, because I sent you that photo.
Right. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah. Did you see the part where we were doing the spin the wheel game? So I made Jake do this game where we would spin a wheel and it had all 32 teams on it.
Okay.
And he had to rank the teams as they came in, but he didn't know what other teams were coming. So you get the Patriots and you got to decide, hey, do I want to risk the ranking them at 5 out of 5 or 3 out of 5 or whatever when I might really want that spot later on. So I thought it'd be fun to do that again this week and do NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So
I just watched. I don't know if you saw that video of those three morons talking about Jordan Love, and they were kind of comparing him to all these other people. They hated Jordan Love, and he was like the bottom line is I can't be any worse than those guys. That's all I can say. I was a 49ers fan that absolutely hated him and put him below everybody.
I'm tempted because I haven't seen that, but we could play it here and then get an hour's worth of content just ripping on how wrong they are.
Oh, it was brutal. It was brutal.
I think that we do need. I just lost it. Here we go. We need some game show music. Let me see. I'm trying to see what StreamYard has to offer us. Is this good game show music? I don't think it is.
Yeah.
It's game showy enough.
Yeah, it works. It's kind of like one of those things where they ask a question and you got like 30 seconds to respond, like you're on the clock music.
I think the whole point of that is to stress you out though, which we don't want to do.
It is a little stressful, but it's.
So here we go. We have 37, 38, 39 quarterbacks on here.
Okay.
We're going to spin the wheel. And you have 5 slots, 1 through 5. And you got to rank them as they come in.
All right.
And try not to, hate your life by the end of it. If you, have to put somebody in a spot you don't want them. If you got the 5th one left over and you get Mahomes, sorry, man, that's where he's going.
Right.
So here we go. Let's spin this. I really hope you get Justin Fields at some point in here.
I do too. Ooh, there we go.
All right. Marcus Mariota. Where are we putting it? Take your time because I got to find his face in the sea of faces.
Yeah, that's fine. Because I want to kind of. I mean, that feels easy, but at the same time, I want to see how many just awful quarterbacks there are. Man, oh man. I'm gonna put him 5.
All right. That's just not that hard to argue with.
I feel like even if somebody slightly worse comes along, I can justify it.
I think I was supposed to remove him from the wheel there. All right, whatever. Spin it again. Come on, Jordan Love.
Ugh! Okay, all right.
Close.
There we go.
Drake May.
I got a little scared there. All right. I feel like, again, I could justify him at 4 because he could be as trash or as good as I want him to be, but I still feel like there's some good ones coming up. I'm going to put him 4.
All right. That's where I put these 2 as well. Let's see. Number 3. Oh, look at the 2 names this guy's sandwiched between.
That's a 3, I think. I'll put Russ at 3.
So this is Russell Wilson. You're putting him at 3?
Yeah.
All right. Where is Russ?
I'm feeling okay with it so far, but we got to get some good quarterbacks coming in at one of these spins, and I need a good quarterback.
You know the next one is going to be Justin Fields.
Oh, God, that would be painful.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Jordan Love. Nice. He's going number 1.
All right, good man. You are already a better co-host than Jake decided to be last week, because Jake was trying to get us canceled by Packers fans because, like, he kept ranking the Packers below some teams that I could not co-sign on. I was worried we were going to start getting negative reviews and unfollows on YouTube.
Who do I want right now? Give me like Brock or Jalen, or even Goff would be good. Dak would be good. Give me like a good, but
it's gonna be Mahomes.
Like not one of the top 2 guys.
Oh, dang.
There, Dak. Look at that.
Dude, you got
number
so
2.
You got so lucky.
Dang. I crushed that. I called him out too. Give me Dak.
So we had one last week. Where the heck is Dak? I didn't see him.
Oh, he's second row all the way to the right, next to Goofy Long Neck.
All right, so your final ranking, I think probably you're not going to change anything with the benefit of hindsight. It's number 1, Jordan Love. Number 2, Dak Prescott. Number 3, Russell Wilson. Number 4, Drake May. Number 5, Marcus Mariota. I mean, that feels right.
That feels good.
I just lost my oops. I got to put the
oh no.
Got to put the rookies back on here. Penix, Nix, Daniels, JJ, and Drake. Okay.
There he is.
You want to do one more of this?
Sure.
Let me put these back in.
Make it a little harder this time, will you?
Yeah, no kidding. All right, this should be the list. All right, we are spinning. Clear these guys back in there, and your first one is Jordan Love again.
Let's put him number 1. That one, I mean, it could bite me, but I could just always play the homer card.
It's true. It's true. But the point is that I'm glad you're ranking Jordan Love up at the top, because it'll feed in nicely to our next topic.
Ooh, all right. That's a little
Trevor
tricky.
Lawrence.
I'll put him 3.
You'd think he'd be easier to find with that long hair. What the heck
right. Top right.
There we go. Lamar Jackson. I feel like you're
right.
You're a.
Oh, that's got to be
close.
A 2.
That was close.
If we get another good quarterback, I'd be in trouble here.
Breaking news: Pack Daddy of Packernet ranks Mahomes 5th behind.
Oh, I'll take Caleb. No. All right, that's little. Oh, that is Caleb. What happened?
It was Dak. I removed Dak.
Oh, you! No. I was like, oh hell yeah. All right, I guess he's got to be 4.
I gotta find it. Here it is.
That's
This is just setting up. It's either gonna be amazing or it's gonna totally ruin your reputation. Oh
Kyler,
dang!
Kyler.
You can't.
Oh, Bryce, even better. Yes.
Wow.
All right, so there's one that needs to be switched. Otherwise, we're good.
All right, here's the thing, man. Listen, you got 2 pretty easy ones in a row. We got to go one more and hope that this last one finally really makes life hard on you.
Let's do it.
Put these guys back where they belong.
Might have to invoke the comment section here if it gets a little tricky.
All right. First up, we got number 1.
Is it Drake?
Come on. Yes, Aaron Rodgers. All right. Do something controversial here, Ryan.
I feel like anywhere you put him is controversial.
Right?
All right. Well, he's not 4 or 5. He's not 1. So he's 2 or 3. I think 3 is safe. Let's do 3. I think
that's the move I would have done as well. Because the odds that you're going to get like a Gardner Minshew or, you'll get a couple terrible guys.
Yeah. This could get controversial if it's all really bad guys, though.
That is true.
Oh, here we go. Here goes the run on terrible quarterbacks.
There's Gardner Minshew himself.
There
he is.
It's actually not the... I mean, I guess put him 5. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just begging for Justin Fields to be one of these last 3 ones you get. Oh.
All right.
JJ McCarthy.
That's got to be 4 then. Oh man, this is gonna get bad if there's a...
I hope so.
Gonna be Fields. Tua. Oh no.
It's Jacoby Brissett.
Oh Lord.
I gotta be honest.
Yeah. All right, put him 2.
Help me identify Jacoby Brissett. His face is not on TV very often.
That's a good call. I feel like I would know him when I saw him, but
is this Jacoby? This guy's wearing a Browns jersey. I think this is Jacoby.
Process of elimination, I'm going to say it is.
Okay. You said you want him where?
Gee, we're going to get canceled if that's not him. Put him at 2. At this point, you might as well put him 1, but yeah, 2's fine.
Watch this be like Tyrod Taylor or somebody.
We're going to be on friggin' ESPN.
These 2 idiot white guys from Wisconsin don't know what Jacoby Brissett looks like. Oh,
that's painful.
Sweet content. Sam Darnold.
Oh, Lord.
And you are locked in with Sam
Darnold with number 1.
As your number 1.
That's rough.
What an idiot. I can't believe
that's rough.
That. Wow. All right. Cancel Ryan. He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
Take a screenshot, send it to those 4 people on Twitter that dedicate their life to defending Aaron Rodgers so they can come at me.
I am going to screenshot this because we might be able to get some Bears fans on here too. Just because they bite on anything.
That's true.
All right, here we go. Tweeting this out here. Let's see.
See, the funny thing is, anybody with any intelligence would look at it and be like, why are there just 5? And like, this is so random what actually happened. Most people are just going to probably instantly gut react to this nonsense.
There's a facepalm emoji.
This is horrible. What did I just sign up for? Abuse. That's what I signed up for.
There we go.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to tag Jake on here as well, though, because then he can still be part of us in spirit, even though he's on the road.
You should have just blamed him. You should have just been like, Jake said, what's he going to do? He can't defend himself.
So we are going to kind of throw Jake under the bus here, though, because he kept ranking the Packers kind of low, like at least mid-tier every time, and then defending it. Like we would do a hindsight re-rank, and he would consistently put the Packers like 3rd. And so since he's not here to defend himself and give an explanation for why he thinks the Packers are going to be trash this year, I figured that we would I figured that we would have a conversation about where the Packers are at in comparison to last year's team, and
Sure.
talk about regression, positive and negative regression. Um, uh, well, I want to talk about position groups and coaching, and like where do we think the biggest issues were last year? Are those fixed? And where do we think the biggest places of growth are going to come from? So I'll serve it up to you first. What do you think is the single most improved room on the Packers roster for 2024 as we stand today?
I mean, it's hard to pick anything other than safety. That was our biggest weakness, and we went out and got a top 5 safety and then drafted 3 safeties in the draft. So, I mean, that feels to me like a slam dunk.
Yeah, I agree. You look at like Jonathan Owens and Rudy Ford played like close to 2,000 combined snaps last year. And if one of our most limited resources that we have as a football team is like touching the football, touches to give out, I would say like just overall snaps, starting snaps would be the second biggest resource that we have to allocate. It's such a limited quantity of this resource that we have to have Jonathan Owens and Rudy Ford out there so much. And like Anthony Johnson Jr. was starting over those guys toward the end of last year. He was starting over Rudy Ford at times. The gap between where we were and where just even getting average is colossal. Like, do we really think that our second round safety, Javon Bullard, isn't going to put out a product at least as good as our 7th round safety last year did at the end of the year? And I think if you're talking about safety, you also immediately have to talk about linebacker, because Devondre Campbell played some not very inspiring football last year. He was out there a ton. And we still have Quay and McDuffie and Wilson. And we're adding in Edge and Hopper. And I think that that's just an instantaneous upgrade, because we're not really losing anything from last year besides Campbell. And I think most people who were assessing the play of the Packers defense last year felt that Devondre, more often than not, was a liability when he was on the field. Obviously, there's a risk of going backwards from an intellectual standpoint and just his knowledge of the playbook and all that. I'm sure we're going to take a step backwards there.
Sure.
But a monumental leap in athleticism and durability as well. I mean, I think everybody would expect Edger and Cooper to be able to play more snaps in a season than Devondre Campbell was giving us.
Yeah, I mean, Devondre just seemed to not really have it in the tank anymore. I was just checking out what he did last year. He suffered through some injuries. Obviously, he was upset with the training staff and whatnot. But, I mean, he started off pretty decent, which, I mean, you could say through week 9, but really there's only 5 games through week 9 that he played. After that, it was abysmal. 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 18, and then the 2 playoff games. I'll have to look at that a little bit closer later when when I have time to kind of pull it up. But, I mean, he had to have been one of the worst linebackers through that stretch. And again, I keep bringing it up. Maybe it's unfair, but it was at the end of that game when everybody's jumping up and down and excited, and he comes back and he just says, "I'm so tired." You know what I mean? It's like, It's a young football team with a ton of steam, and they're ready to rock and roll, and he just didn't have it in the tank anymore. I'm not going to say he didn't try. I think he did. It's just he's just kind of getting beat down at the age of 30 years old. So, yeah, I'm excited. Quay obviously is a young, athletic guy. Edgerrin, I think, is a step above him in my opinion, which I'm excited to see those 2 guys work in tandem. And just in general, the youth of this team, I think especially late in the season, because again, that's when you saw Devondre start to fall apart. We've seen, Aaron, and I remember even Brett, down the stretch, some of these older guys, they don't have it. You get into December, January football with a young group of guys. I mean, they're just getting started. They're not getting tired, you know.
And of course, then you have a relatively youthful new coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball as well. And like, I mean, Anthony Campanile, we all as Packers content creators can't talk about him without talking about the energy that he brings and the fact that he's always, cranking it 10 out of 10 and screaming at guys and getting them jacked up and like getting us, the viewers, jacked up just watching these, clips from practice. Right. So it feels like the defense can't take a step back anywhere because the floor was so low last year. And if we were listing all the problems that they had last year, safety, linebacker, health of our edge rushers, especially Rashawn and Enagbare, not being at 100%. And then the coaching staff. And I think all those have been addressed. So yes, I think that the cornerback room and the defensive line had issues last year, but I think you would rank those near the bottom of the list of concerns for the defense last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it, and I'm just trying to, ask the question: if somebody took a step back, who would you guess it would be?
Of the whole on a room by room basis or a player by player basis?
Well, I mean, player to player. I mean, again, Gary was not at his full strength. Jair, I mean, he was good, but he was certainly not at his best. I kind of feel like his floor. I feel like Gary and Jair were kind of at their floor last year. You look at Stokes. Obviously, he was not good because he came in late in the season for his first time in over a year. I have a hard time seeing any of these guys performing worse. Maybe Kenny Clark, but Clark or Smith, but mostly that's just due to age. If right. Anything. Bottom line is, I just, like you said, I have a hard time seeing anybody. If you want to say they don't take a massive jump forward, that's fine. But taking a step backward from where they are seems just really unlikely.
Yeah, I think that might be my answer as well, is the two old guys. And I think if you're looking at the offense as well, like the offense was probably our biggest question mark heading into last season because of the youth everywhere. And it's not groundbreaking analysis to say, hey, they got better as they got more experience throughout the year. But we're heading into year 2 and year 3 for just about everybody who's going to be playing football for us on the offensive side of the ball. Yeah. Like with the exception of Elton Jenkins and Josh Myers. Like, is that it? I think AJ Pretty Dillon much. And Josh Jacobs. So I'm looking at what the offense did last year, and they put up 27 points, I think 7 times, which is like 24 or 27 points are kind of some thresholds for me of like, if the offense can't get to 24 points, they have kind of failed in right. holding up their end of the bargain for the defense. And like that 27 point threshold is kind of, good. So if the defense can hold the opponents to 24 points or less, I feel like you should be able to win your game. If the offense can put up 27 points or more, you should be able to win the game.
Yeah.
So looking at what they did last year, the offense had 27 points, I think 7 times last year. Then they got to 24 to 26. I guess just 2 more times. So if you had 24 as your threshold, that would be 9 wins, which is actually what they got last year. They were a 9-8 team. Mm-hmm. So I think if you kind of set that as like 24 or 27 points, 7 to 9 wins is what they kind of should have had last year based on what the offense was doing. We think that the offense and defense are both going to take a step forward this year. Do we not?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you don't want to be a homer, but just looking at the situation, it's hard to not conclude that.
Offensively, where would you be looking to see the most growth from last year to this year?
I I would almost venture to say tight end. I don't see it from the offensive line necessarily. I think they're kind of in flux. I mean, it's possible that our first round pick comes in and dominates, and you see a resurgence from Elton and whatever. But Jordan Love already kind of was fantastic. We had Aaron Jones on a tear last year, so it kind of come down to wide receiver or tight end. There are more wide receivers where if they all kind of synchronize up and take a step, it's going to be an elite unit. But I just feel like, we just started to see Musgrave, and then he got hurt. Tucker comes in. It took him a little while to slowly kind of show out. If they can come in week one, ready to go, and be side by side and kind of fit in with the rest of these guys, I think that if I had to guess, that would be maybe the biggest jump that we would see from the offense positionally.
Do you think that the running back production is going to decrease from 2023?
I don't think so. I mean, there's kind of a lot of question marks there. Not only do we have a rookie, but Josh Jacobs. Are we going to get 2022 or 2023 Josh Jacobs? I mean, if it's last year, probably. If Josh Jacobs is looking like he was 2 years ago, and we've got, a rookie coming in that's really talented, and then you got, as a lot of Packer fans are talking about, you got 3 220-plus pound guys just wearing down defenses. If that's the best case scenario, then you'd see an uptick. But it's hard to envision, because again, Aaron Jones, granted, he was on a snap count and injured, but when he was in there, he was certainly a difference maker. So it's kind of hard to view it either way. I think the only thing I really do like is I think we're not going to have a situation where Aaron Jones is like the entire running back room, and when he steps off, it just plummets. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think it'll be a little bit more sustained. We'll be able to weather injuries a little bit better, but I don't know if we'll have the top end like we had with Aaron Jones. We'll have to see.
I want to put up on the screen here so we can look at the season long grades last year. I've sorted them first by worst pass blocking games of the year. So the worst pass blocking grade overall of the year was the 49ers playoff game.
Of course.
And then other games that were pretty poor was that Panthers game, which is interesting because the offense wasn't the problem that day. It was the defense that was the problem that day. And yet we had the second worst pass blocking performance of the season. The third one was the Broncos game. We did lose that. We only put up 17 points. And then there was a string of wins. I think this is 4 wins in a row. No, I guess we lost to the Steelers. I thought we beat the Steelers. Oh, and this is the Lions loss. I thought it was the Lions win. All right, so we went 2-2 in this stretch of 4 games here. Beat the Vikings, lost to the Lions, beat the Chiefs, lost to the Steelers. And then you're getting into some, fine pass blocking grades. And the run blocking kind of was never great throughout the whole year.
Classic.
Yeah. I don't know how much you care about that when you're the Packers.
Right.
And other than this Vikings game here, the third one on the list, 10-24, I think you don't super hate the majority of the scores here, especially because if you think back to some of the context, run blocking was not the reason that we struggled in the Saints game.
Right.
The passing game as a whole was just a nightmare for the first 3 quarters of that game.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is this performance that we got from the Packers offensive line a year ago, is that good enough for this year, or is it going to hold us back? And the reason I wanted to sort it by worst and look at the worst ones is, trying to assess, did the offensive line cost us on their worst days last year? What's your
you hate to see that San Francisco game because it just reminds me of all the other playoff games where, the offensive line completely failed and the team gets exited from the playoffs. So I'm getting a little tired of that. And I'm not blaming the offensive line necessarily. There were a lot of issues. Jordan didn't play very well, but I am getting tired of that, and that can be a hindrance. However, I think Jordan has done a great job weathering the storm. I remember looking a while back, I don't remember the specifics of it, but I remember him getting kind of blitzed early, and then by the end of the season, they really didn't try him anymore because he was one of the better quarterbacks under pressure. He's very similar to Rodgers or Brady or a lot of these other guys where you blitz at your own peril. So I don't want to say who cares about the offensive line because Jordan can handle it. Obviously, it's important, but as long as we don't see massive regression, if Myers can just kind of wake up a little bit, if we have at least a functioning right guard as opposed to an abysmal turnstile right guard, I think it'll be okay. I'm hopeful for the tackle positions. I'm hopeful that Elton Jenkins will be able to kind of rebound a little bit. Not that he's terrible, but you'd like to see more Pro Bowl Jenkins than like not trash Jenkins. And I think if we can just set a floor at decent pass blocking, not good run blocking, I think we'll be okay. But I do have some concerns about especially the interior.
As we stand today, it's hard to pencil in any other name than Sean Ryan at right guard, and I don't want him there.
Right.
Because he was worse than John Runyon last year, and John Runyon was horrible, and nobody was sad to see John Runyon leave because of how he played last year, despite the fact that his first 3 or 4, whatever it was, years here were really standout. I have gone back and forth a bunch of times and can't conclusively point to Josh Myers at center and say that I think that he was a big reason that the guards were struggling, but I do think it's conspicuous that the two guys on either side of him were struggling so much.
Right.
And then Elton Jenkins, not only was he next to Josh Myers, he's also next to the revolving door of Rasheed Walker and Yosh Nijman. And I think that context helps make it a little more understandable why his numbers and his just week-to-week play was so atrocious last year. Do you think Josh Myers was dragging down the guards next to him, or do you just have no idea like me?
I wish... I mean, it's a simple answer that would be great to just throw out there, but I don't know. I don't know why Josh Myers took a step back. I mean, it's a bunch of guys took a step back. Maybe it's just one and he dragged everybody else down, or maybe there's something else. I mean, we've had a change of quarterback, which does make a difference. We've had a change of offensive line coach. Maybe there was some changes schematically that were done because of Jordan Love and the way that we want to do things. I don't really know, but a lot of guys, Zach Tom might have been the only one that didn't regress. So yeah. I'm kind of just got my fingers crossed that, they made some changes. Some of the guys struggled, and hopefully we see a better version of Josh Myers. Not that he was ever elite, but he at least was a decent enough pass blocker. He just struggled as a run blocker, and he was just kind of useless last year, which can't happen again.
Yeah, there was a period of time where Josh Myers was kind of consistently like a 71, which is absolutely serviceable. I will take a 71 at center if he's kind of just at least consistently somewhere between a 65 and a 75. I'll live with that.
Yeah.
The interior, I think, has struggled significantly since the switch to the new offensive line coach, and that certainly could be a coincidence. But it feels like the offensive line has kind of consistently been a weakness ever since Elton's injury. And then, they bring him back and they try him out at right tackle. And I think that was the first time that the offensive line wasn't okay and was even maybe a liability for the Packers was that first early season where they had Jenkins at right tackle, and then it wasn't working, so they kicked him back to left guard, and he kind of bounced back a bit there at left guard. But like the offensive line as a whole, I don't think has gotten back to being okay since then. And I'm kind of looking for some stability, but at the same time, we know they're shuffling some things around, and we kind of want them to keep shuffling them around even more, which is the opposite of stability. Not shuffling him anymore would mean leaving Sean Ryan at right guard and Rasheed Walker at left tackle. And I just don't think that that's where we want the offensive line to end up.
Yeah, we're kind of on the verge of some liabilities. I mean, it was right around the time Bakhtiari got hurt, is when Elton got hurt. You know, they constantly take swings, and it's been great, but we've lost a lot of guys. And then when you have half your line regress, you had Royce Newman even. Not that he was ever elite, but he looked promising, and that didn't work. You got Sean Ryan, who's a third-round pick, that looks like a bust. There's just a lot of misfortune with the injuries. A lot of guys mysteriously regressing, and then just several misses. And here we sit, just kind of on the verge of being in some serious trouble. We're fortunate with Zach Tom. I think Rasheed Walker is serviceable if need be. Elton, I don't know. I hope at the very least he's bottomed out. If this is what it is, then fine, I guess. He's still graded out as a really solid pass blocker. But, I mean, if he takes another step back, we're in a world of hurt here. So it feels like we're kind of at a tipping point where, you know, if things bounce back, we can resurface. If things continue to regress, this is going to get ugly.
Is it just me, or does it feel like the Packers seem completely unconcerned when the coaches are being asked about the offensive line? Like, hey, your offensive line didn't look that great last year. What? No, I thought it was fine. Are you considering anybody else at center? Oh, Josh Myers is our center.
Yeah.
Why do you ask?
That's such a classic, like, that's how they are with everything. I mean, that's how they were with wide receiver for years. Like, oh, we love the guys we got. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, Sean Ryan's a dog, and Josh Myers is best I've ever seen him, and like I have no idea what the heck you're talking about. So I don't know if they're just completely faking it, or if they genuinely really like the guys and just are not seeing it, because we can all see that these guys are 1 year away from losing their jobs. About
right.
Half of them anyways. So yeah, I'm guessing it's fake, but they seem sincere. I mean, they genuinely seem confused that the questions keep coming up, but it's a little disconcerting, but hopefully they figure it out.
Yeah, last preseason, like I was about to burst a blood vessel watching the way that Jon Runyan was playing in the preseason. And, you know, understandably, some other analysts were looking at him and saying, hey, calm down, it's the preseason, he'll bounce back, which was the right answer at the time. He ended up deciding not to bounce back for whatever reason. The Packers seem to not really mind. And then at the end of the year, Goody's like, Jon Runyan, who? Oh, that guy? Yeah, no, I didn't resign him. What are you talking about? He was terrible.
Never liked that guy anyways.
You never noticed he was terrible last year? What are you talking about? The coaches
never wanted that. I don't even know why I drafted him. I never liked that guy.
I want to get Goody on the show someday, and
be nice.
I have a few questions I want to ask him. One is like, I want to kind of get into his thought process on Amari Rodgers, especially like, you know, hindsight.
Sure.
I also want to ask him if we were right about Keon White, that we thought that they were going to go after Keon White.
Oh, yeah, right.
2022 draft. Anyways, so your tight end answer is an interesting one. And I think that it'll be good to see both of those guys healthy at the same time, which we really only got at the end of last year. And it was like really cool when it happened. So I'm excited for the preseason games, but we got a couple injuries that I'm a little bit nervous about, not in the tight end room, but like Lucas Musgrave Lucas Van Ness, dang it, has a busted up thumb. And then Zach Tom, who we were just talking about was like the best offensive lineman, the only guy you really felt super confident in last year. He's got a torn pectoral muscle, and he was saying like, "Hey, hopefully I'll be back in mid-August," which is cutting it a little bit close, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a little bit nervous about if he's going to be ready and what kind of, I don't know. We have a new strength and conditioning guy in there. You know, hopefully they'll handle things differently. But like over the last couple of years, I don't think I would have really trusted that a guy who was supposed to come back in mid-August was actually going to be ready in mid-August and be himself, I guess. What's your concern level on that?
I'm a little gun shy, I guess, if that's the right phrase, just because there have been a lot of times where we've been told everything's going to be fine and given some positive feelings about things, and it just doesn't happen, and it, in fact, sails past that. I guess right now I'm not worried about it. We'll see how things go as we get a little bit closer. Obviously, if we see them back in training camp and there doesn't seem to be any progression or whatnot, I'll start to panic. For now, I'm just going to assume he's fine. But again, like I said, we're on the verge of catastrophe. You take Zach Tom and remove him from this, and it's like, oh, good Lord. Especially when, you look at week 1 as the Eagles. If you drop that to the Eagles, that's probably an NFC playoff team that you're now down in. You've got other NFC North teams that are winning football games. It's like, it's not a good way to start your season. So, yeah, he's a key piece to this team.
If you had to pick your starting lineup for the 5 offensive linemen, just only armed with the knowledge that you have today, who are you putting in? Who are you leaving out here?
That's tough because there is the
because we don't have a right guard.
Well, exactly. I want to believe that Jordan Morgan is the left tackle. The Packers seem confident in that. But, I mean, best 5, man. Especially, you're looking week 1, and it's like Rasheed Walker can pass block. He can do that. He proved that he can do it. I hate to not necessarily utilize him to your best strengths and abilities, but at the same time, you've got an interior that you didn't really address, and that's on you. So suck it up and put your first-round pick at right guard. So I guess if it was entirely up to me, and we'd have to see how good of a job he can do, but it would probably be Walker, Jenkins, Myers, Morgan, and Tom. At least temporarily. Obviously the plan eventually would be to move Morgan to left tackle, but for this year, we need a right guard, and we don't have one, and Walker can't do it, and I'm not taking Tom off his spot, so process of elimination just kind of leaves us where we're at. Unless, of course, Sean Ryan comes in and proves he can be a right guard. But at this point, like you said, I don't have any knowledge of that. So, yeah, Morgan would be our right guard.
So let's say that Jordan Morgan locks down the left tackle job, and you feel just blown away by his abilities there, super confident in him, and nobody is emerging. Like Sean Ryan just cannot get it done at right guard. What is your contingency plan there? Because a popular one on Packers Twitter is Zach Tom to center, Rasheed Walker to right tackle, Josh Myers to right guard.
I mean, I know it's popular and I get it. I don't want Tom removed from right tackle, and I don't have any reason to believe that Myers is any better at right guard. So we're massively downgrading the tackle position, presumably upgrading the center position, and I have no idea if we have a right guard still. It's not my favorite thing. I mean, if we were going to do a contingency plan, I mean,
is that your best 5 guys?
the one that you proposed.
The one that I just proposed. Like, ignore where I
It's
put them.
it's
Maybe there's a better way
it's
to phrase
well,
that. Are they the
yeah,
best 5?
it probably is the best 5. Yeah.
Because the other option would be a Zach Tom to a guard spot. If he just bumps to right guard, that's the least amount of shuffling. If he bumps to left guard and Elton goes to right guard, that's maybe another option that
Yeah, I would
more
almost
maximizes their
prefer to,
strength.
if we had to do it, move Tom to right guard just to minimize the shuffling. Leave Myers at center. I don't. He's our center. I don't want to screw with that. So I know Tom is supposedly some All Pro center. I would rather not if we didn't have to. So and like you said, as far as best 5, it's hard to say because I don't know what Tom is when he moves to a new position or Myers is at a new position. So
Right.
I can be more confident in that being our best 5 if there's minimal shuffling. So that would probably be my preference if we were to do it. I still don't know if I would do it. I don't know if we roll with Ryan and just say, suck it up and do your job. We could maybe hit free agency and find if there's anybody out there. You can be 35 years old. If you can just set a floor, let's do that. Or we got Monk to entertain or whatever. Bottom line is I want to throw everything I can at solving this without moving Tom if I can. If we
Yeah.
absolutely can't, I don't know. We either roll with Ryan or we say, dang, I guess David Bakhtiari, we're in quotes because apparently, in this scenario, he's an elite left tackle. I guess he's going to have to play right guard for a little while. I don't know. I'm pretty stuck on not wanting to do that, but we could. I would certainly want to try it in training camp because Walker could be a right tackle. I mean, he could end up being a great right tackle. We could have a great left guard. Tom could be a great interior guy, and we're set and ready to go. I would just be real. I would want to make absolutely sure because it makes me very nervous.
I really wish that we had drafted a guard or a couple of guards this year. That was really high on my want list. And I think there's a big part of me that has just been envious of the San Francisco 49ers offensive line for the last 5 years. They got these big hulking bruisers that just maul you in the run game. Same with the Patriots. And just like their guards are just they dictate the game. And I really want that. I'm just tired of like the type of guard that we keep bringing in. These kind of smaller technician sort of guys. Like, can we just get somebody who just can move bodies? Because the guys that we have who are, the more intellectual sort are not getting the job done.
Yeah. And the thing I was going to make a point. I forgot what it was. I got all confused. What I was going to say is, as far as the drafting, you mentioned you wish we had gotten some guards. I like the guys that we got. I like all the safeties that we got. But it may be a little painful to look at an offensive line that's struggling and 2 guys that we drafted sitting on the bench because we don't have a job for them to do. You know what I mean? I'm obviously best player available the whole 9 yards, but it would have been cool if at least one of those would have gone to guard so that we feel like maybe there is actually a competition, a guy that we can root for and believe could win that job. But instead, all we have is Monk, who's probably not going to win anything. And like I said, 2 safeties that potentially are starters as far as their talent that just maybe will not get on the field at all.
Yeah. A little bit of a weird draft strategy. I think that I think it was John Meerdink who pointed out that it was such an offensive heavy draft early on that it kind of makes sense that a lot of the defensive talent was pushed down into the Packers range.
Sure.
So, they took Marshawn Lloyd in the 3rd round, but other than that, they're taking all these swings at defense kind of early, even though I think you had some relatively significant areas on offense, particularly the offensive line, to upgrade. Seems like they just really went all in on, hey, number one, a lot of these defensive guys that we liked have fallen to where we didn't think they were going to be available.
Yeah.
And our biggest priority here is like rehauling this or overhauling this defense for Jeff Halfley, because that was the number one thing that was just preventing us from doing everything we wanted to do a year ago. Was you just could almost never rely on the defense, and we just got clean house from top to bottom there.
Yeah, and hopefully I end up eating my words on this one, but another option maybe would be Tyron Hopper. Maybe see if there's a guard there in that spot instead of Tyron Hopper. No disrespect, Mr. Hopper. I hope that you're an elite football player. I'm just saying.
I whine way too much about way too many topics, and so I've tried to avoid this. But I definitely have my gripes about the draft strategy this year. All right, we did have one listener question that I wanted to hit on before we bow out of here. But Tool for this wants to know: do we think there's any chance Corey Linsley signs a one-day contract to retire as a Packer?
Let me just want to look at something real quick here. He played 6 years. He played at a pretty high level. I would love it if he did. I think the Packers should do it. I don't know exactly the criteria, but I think he should. He was here for, like I said, 6 years. That's a long time.
My impression has always been that it's just sort of like a player initiated thing. Like, hey, Green Bay, can you sign me for one day?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I feel like it's kind of just up to Linsley probably if he wants to do it. Like, they might not let like a Kadar Holman do it. Like, dude,
Sure.
why are you calling me? I'm not even answering your phone call.
Yeah.
But Tool for this says the best way to find a guard is to find a guy on a farm who wasn't smart enough to graduate 6th grade, but gosh darn can he throw hay. That's pretty funny.
That's why the Badgers have offensive lines.
Bruce Edmonds with some fighting words. JJ, why are you going to lose the 53 projection this year? Because it's statistically improbable that I would beat you 5 years in a row. That's why, sir. Seriously, though, the draft was weird this year. Why did they draft a pure tackle and not the normal versatile offensive lineman MO?
Yeah.
I think the biggest reason would be that he was the last offensive lineman left. Out of that top tier of guys who can play tackle. There were a bunch of guys like Mason McCormick and Tanner Bortolini that I liked a lot who were later day picks, but by the time they started taking swings at the offensive lineman again, the pool had kind of dried up. They just kept hitting the freaking linebacker position and safeties over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So, rewinding to what Ryan said a minute ago, I think it's, they decided to draft Tyron Hopper instead of an offensive lineman. That's the reason.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously were excited. I mean, that's the only thing I have to get excited about is, as much we know that they wanted to draft versatile offensive linemen, but they're looking at, the 4th round saying, bro, Evan Williams is still here. We have to do it. And then the next time they go Jacob Monk, and it's like, should we do it again? And it's like freaking Oladapo, man. I mean, we can't pass on him. You know what I mean? So, yeah, they did end up probably getting stuck with Travis Glover. I don't mean stuck as though he's bad, but as far as, I mean, he's just a tackle, So, yeah, that's probably the situation. But again, I'm sure they were very excited to see that these guys are still sitting there. So hopefully we see the fruits of that. And again, who knows? Maybe Jacob Monk actually comes in and is a freak. I mean, it wouldn't be impossible. The last guard we had that actually did give us some good years was also a 5th round pick, I think, or was he a 6th round pick? I think.
No, he was I think he was a 6th rounder.
I think there was the 3 6 rounders.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. So.
Yeah, Stepniak retired right away, and Hansen stuck around way too long, and Runyon kind of hit, and then he got massively paid by the Giants.
So we'll see. He's a big dude too, so who knows? Maybe you'll get your road grader after all.
The Jacob Monk pick, kind of makes sense as just sort of a typical later round Packers offensive lineman swing. I think Travis Glover and Tyron Hopper are just hard for me to wrap my head around as picks. I think the most interesting thing with the Tyron Hopper pick was just hearing Goody and the other guys in his office kind of gush over the Missouri program and how much they love the way they're doing things there, which Missouri is an ascending college football program for sure. But they were kind of gushing over Missouri the same way they have been gushing over Georgia.
Sure.
As like, dude, the only reason we didn't draft more Missouri guys is because they're all still on the team, and we can't wait to draft them next year. Is kind of what they're making it sound like. But,
yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was the most interesting part because looking at his draft profile was not that interesting. But hey,
no, it was pretty brutal. But again, you go through the list of guys that we really like, and they liked him more. Liked him more than Oladapo, liked him more than Williams, liked him more than Pratt and everything else. So I mean, they might be and probably are just wrong. Let's just call it what it is. Very rarely do we look at a guy like this that gets drafted and we all hate him and he ends up being a stud. I can't really think of an example.
Oh, Samori Toure, he's a super freak, man. So good.
But yeah, we'll see.
All right, Ryan, any final thoughts from you to close this out?
No, I'm just waiting to find out whose immortal words we're going to have today.
Yeah. You know the drill. The words of the late great Mr. Ed Policy. Go Pack Go.